For today's video, we have my team reveal for Supercoach 2021. So really excited to show you guys my team, and yeah, we'll go through it one by one. And before we start, so every week we do weekly videos on a Sunday night or Monday night, and yeah, I'll just explain how my team went for the week, see how it goes. There's good weeks, but I think the people seem to enjoy the bad weeks a little bit more, which is fine, but hey, have a bit of fun, have a bit of a laugh there. So if that's something you're interested in, consider subscribing, I guess. I'd love to hit 3k subscribers, but might be a bit of a stretch. And also we have a Discord server, so we have about 900 members there, and nearly 2 million messages have been posted on there, so it's pretty active. Yeah, it's basically 24/7 live chat. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, link is in the description. So I think we'll get straight into the team, so it should be good. So start off with the defense, and my D1 is none other than Jake Lloyd. So for me, sitting through not owning Jake Lloyd for the first half of last year was pretty painful, and it's not something I want to do again. I know he's had a minor injury, but it seems fine. So definitely going to start Jake Lloyd this year and see what he can do. It seems like defenders are scoring more, so definitely want Jake Lloyd in the team. Not going to sit through that again. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory pick and worth paying up for. The next player I have is Crom midfielder Rory Laird. So he was outstanding in the midfield in the back half of last year. Been pretty good this pre-season, so I've seen enough good signs from Laird that I want to pick him, and yeah, he's the Crows' best midfielder by a mile. So I understand, I had him as pegged as a top 2 defender, but I have a feeling he might fall down a little bit, just the way defenders are scoring, but nonetheless a very safe option, durable option, and you pretty much know what you're going to get from Rory Laird. Probably he could go around 110 possibly, maybe a bit lower, maybe a bit higher. He did go higher than that when he played midfield last year, but I feel pretty good about picking Rory Laird. So the next defender we have is big helmet, Caleb Daniel. So Caleb Daniel, as soon as I saw the way defenders were scoring this year, I had to put Caleb Daniel in. So I feel like he's their best kick in defence. They're going to use him for majority of kickouts and give him the ball as much as possible. So his durability's been good. And end of 2019, he did his hamstring twice, the same one. I think he came back too early, but since then he's had 2 full pre-seasons. So I am very strict on durability. But I think having 2 good pre-seasons, hasn't been injured at all for a year and a half or so. So I think that's probably good enough for me, I guess. So Caleb Daniel is in. And next we have Tom Stewart. So Tom Stewart, pretty safe option. You know, he'll take the kickouts, he'll rack it up in defence. So been a premium for 2 years now, in a decent age bracket as well. So very boring pick, Tom Stewart. Did have the injury last year, so maybe a little bit discounted. But yeah, I just feel safe with Tom Stewart. And yeah, I'm very happy with that selection. So he had a minor quad issue in the preseason, and he had a groin injury last preseason. So I really don't like that at all. But it was either Stewart or Ridley, and Ridley had a minor calf issue in the preseason. So I think Stewart's probably a little bit older, which I think helps, and a little bit more proven. So for that reason, I like Stewart a bit more than Ridley, but it looks like Ridley's taken every kick in. He will take most of the kick-ins, and he's an amazing player. So it's sort of a 50-50, but I feel slightly safer with Stewart. So we'll pick Tom Stewart, but love the Ridley pick. Next we have Jaden Short. So we saw what he did in the first round of his Amy game, or his first Amy game. So he scored was it 170 or something ridiculous like that. So played unreal. When they exit defense, they want the ball in Jaden Short's hand. So throughout the preseason, he was in and out my side, and I just wanted to see what he could do because I heard 0 on Jaden Short, saw what he was doing, and played unreal. So I think Basher Hooley is back pretty early, unfortunately. So I believe his average was around 90 without Hooley and 101 with Hooley. No, it's the other way around. No Hooley 101 with Hooley 90. So for that reason, it's maybe a little bit of a risk, but he's at a really nice price point. It just helps me, enables the rest of the team. The fact that he's not a 550, he's 520. So I feel okay with him, and I feel like he's the main man now. And Basher Hooley, well, I don't think he plays many games this year. He's pretty injury prone, so see how he goes. But I like the Jaden Short pick. Now we'll get to rookies. First we have Big Tom Highmore. Then we have Butts on the bench, and then we have Cozzy. So there are 3 rookies, and I'm not sure if I want to play Butts or Highmore on the field, but I'll go through these players real quickly. So Tom Highmore looks like he's going to play, was ahead of Carlisle at training the other day. Highmore was in the A team, Carlisle in the B team, and yeah, he got more minutes than Carlisle in the Amy game. I don't think Carlisle got any, so Highmore came on for James Frawley. So I think he plays, and he can score, he can take a few intercepts. It might leave the Saints defence a little bit short, so I'm not 100% sure he plays every week, because maybe they prefer Carlisle, who's a bit taller. So that's one thing to watch. That's why I feel a little bit uneasy, and that's why I have Jordan Butts at D7. So it looks bad paying up for a rookie at D7 like this, but it kind of just worked out. When I had the money left over when I finished the team. Jordan Butts' job security is really good, had a great preseason. There is a slight chance that Nick Murray performs better than Butts, and maybe Talia comes in for Butts. I seriously doubt that happening. Probably 90% chance that Butts stays over Nick Murray. But there's that off chance. But for me, I like what I saw. Did a good job on Charlie Dixon, and we need him to. Well, the Crows need him to play well this year, because the Crows' key defenders are not in the best shape right now, or they're either injured or very, very young. So I like the Butts pick, and I think he'll make a bit of money. He can take a few marks. I think in his draft years, he was taking like high teens disposal, something like that, and taking a few marks. So that's good. And we have Kazitsky pretty much because we don't have any other options, it seems. Nick Murray will play, but his job security is not good enough for me. And maybe Sharp plays for Brisbane, but again, I'm not exactly sure what they're doing with him. So seems a bit raw. So for me, I think they'll play Cozzy for the time being. Not the best rookie, but not a whole lot of options either. So I think we can move on to the midfield now. So M1, it's not Lachie Neale. So why don't I have Lachie Neale? Because I'm pretty strict on limited pre-seasons for players at their maximum price. So I know Stewart's had a slightly limited pre-season, but he's probably discounted, so that kind of helps a little bit. A lot of the alternatives to Stewart have had interrupted pre-seasons as well. So for me, I'm going to pass on Lachie Neale, and I am a little bit stressed about it, but he needs to average like 140 to maintain his price, so he will drop. But yeah, don't get me wrong, I am worried about not picking him. But our M1 is none other than Jack Steele. So Jack Steele is one of my favourite players. I speak a lot about how much I love the Dogs mids, and Macrae, Bont, Baz, and Dunkley. Steele is in that. I like Steele as much as those guys now. One of my favourite players, great defensive player, really humble on Instagram as well. Whenever I check his Instagram stories, it's nothing ego related or like showing himself off. It's all about the Saints or like some cause or something like that. So yeah, seems like a really cool dude. Bit of an introvert like myself, so I like Jack Steele a lot. So he is in for me. I think he's capable of winning a Brownlow, but we'll see. I wonder if, I don't think, because they have Brad Crouch now and Hunter Clark will get more mid-minutes, does that hurt Jack Steele a bit? I'm not so sure, but I'm a big fan of Jack Steele and he's in for me. Next we have one Jack Macrae. So no Clayton Oliver. Okay, so why don't I have Clayton Oliver? Well, there's only one reason, and the only reason is he's missed a few training sessions throughout the year because of the shoulder surgery. And as far as I know, he had shoulder soreness or some sort of soreness that made him miss the Amy game. So I'm just taking the conservative approach and picking Macrae over Oliver. This is another one that I'm worried about not owning, but I prefer my players. I'm sticking to the framework that I go with. I really prefer players, if there's similar alternatives, to pick those alternatives with better pre-seasons. So for me, I'm going Jack Macrae and Steele, who have had a better pre-season than Clayton Oliver. So Jack Macrae, plenty of mid-minutes. There's going to be times where he gets all the mid-minutes. There's going to be times where he gets lesser mid-minutes. I understand that. But we saw what he could do in the midfield, and yeah, I couldn't believe it. I could believe it, but it was more or less, I couldn't believe that I sort of forgot what he could do. So, big fan of Macrae, sort of have a better idea of what they're doing. We don't know what Treloar's doing, but Treloar did play a little bit of half forward and half back in their VFL team or whatever at the trial game. I'm not sure what it was. So, for that reason, Macrae is in. One of my favourite players. The next player is Zach Merritt. So Zach Merritt, more CBAs. From what I've heard, he's happier under Rutten than he was under Worsfold. So contract year, don't think that makes much difference anyway, but a big fan of Zach Merritt, and yeah, he scored better when he got more inside time last year. And maybe Ben Rutten is keeping him happy by giving him more inside mid-time, which would be a really smart thing from Rutten. So Zach Merritt is in for me, and very durable, so very happy with that. So they're my only 3 premium mids, and now we'll get on to everything else. So is it not enough mids? Maybe, but I feel like the gap, I think like if midfield with premiums are here and defender premiums are here, I feel like the gap is going to close a little bit based on what we saw in the preseason. Could be wrong, but that's just my observation so far. So next we have none other than, obviously I'm going to start 2 dogs in the midfield. So Dunkley, it's just kind of worked out that he's in the midfield at the moment. So Josh Dunkley, the highest ceiling forward by far in the game, and obvious F1 for the end of the year. Again, he might not get the mid minutes, but when he doesn't get the mid minutes, he's probably going to average like 100 odd. When he does, 120, 130 scores. So yeah, we saw what he could do on the weekend, although it was a weak against weak opposition with Melbourne missing most of their first choice mids. But yeah, he's a star, Dunkley. He's got a 200 in him. He'll probably pull out a 200 at some point. And yeah, the new rules kind of help him. Even though he's a really good stoppage player, his work rate is huge. He can really get around the ground. High endurance player, so less rotation. So that kind of helps Dunkley. Big fan of Josh Dunkley. He is in for me. He was out for a week because of what Bevo said. Put some doubt in my mind about Dunkley, but then he kind of backtracked and said he's an integral part of our 22. So thought he was almost not best 22 for a bit, which shocked me a lot. So obviously, yeah, that's not the case. Just misread what Bevo said, or Bevo was misunderstood. The next, we have another forward for M5, all the way down to Tom Phillips, if we can find him. So Tom Phillips. So I did a player picks video on Tom Phillips early, and that was based on the assumption that he played pure wing. That has changed, and as far as I know, all preseason they've trained him inside and outside. In his trial game, he was one of the best on ground playing inside. In the Amy game, he was probably best on ground playing inside and outside. So I think he got about 50% of the CBAs. Probably goes down a little bit, but that's the selling point with Tom Phillips is, well, he's underpriced for a start. But the extra CBAs and the lowering of interchanges, which should help a high endurance runner like Phillips, that is the upside with him. I like him a lot. Really hard worker. So Tom Phillips is in for me. Probably expecting 95. But yeah, I think Morrison said today that he's going to play predominantly on a wing with small stints in the midfield. So that might help Phillips get a bit more inside mid-time. So I'm actually quite happy with the Tom Phillips pick. And his ownership's 25%, which is a lot higher than I thought. But nonetheless, I'm very happy with Tom Phillips. The next player I have is a defender. It is Jordan Clark. Oh, I've missed him somewhere. Jordan Clark's an interesting one because his job security, from what it sounds like, is a little bit dodgy. I feel like he's played himself into the team based on how he performed. Still has a few areas he needs to work on, which the coaches said. But his drive from halfback, had a few shots on goal as well. Plays the Crows first up, so maybe that's a chance for him. Outside players tend to kill the Crows. So is that a good opportunity for Clark to cement his spot? I think it might be. His ownership's it's 37%. I feel like even though his job security isn't as good as we'd like it to be, I feel like it's a little bit dangerous going without him after, he took 6 kick-ins as well. So he has a few scoring avenues. Again, like there's the upside for all defenders basically. Probably plays more on a wing, not sure. Duncan has to come in probably around 2 or 3, so we'll see how that goes. But for me, it's a case of I feel like there's more risk going without him than with him. So for that reason, Jordan Clark is in. Yeah, look, poised for some sort of breakout, yeah. The coach has said he made significant improvement, so he's in for me. Next we have Tom Powell. So what's interesting about Powell is he actually got no CBAs, or pretty much, I'm not sure if it might have been like 10 or 15%, but he got barely any, if any, CBAs. So not great, but he scored okay at mostly half forward. So he's in for me. I think he's ahead of the other North young recruits, Lazaro and Phillips. I think he played really well in the first half, was leading their possession getters in the Amy game. So for me, he's in, and I'm happy to play him on the field, see how he goes. The next pick we have is Gordon for the Swans. So yeah, Gordon played pretty well in his Amy game, had a lot of score involvements, been in the academy for 8 years, and can find the pill. So maybe gets a bit of mid-time, probably more forwardish, but not exactly sure. But I feel like he's a must-have rookie. So the Swans rate him really highly, so happy to select Errol Gordon. Okay, and our next few rookies are Brockman, Downey, and we'll go Scott. So Brockman, I think, probably doesn't score a whole lot, might kick a few goals, but looks like he'll be a slow burn. Just keep him on the bench. Wait for him to hopefully kick 3 or 4 goals, get a Rising Star nomination, and yeah, go up in price a bit. So Downey's more your outside player, so it feels like they rate him pretty highly, and he's had a good preseason. So I think they'll play Downey. Happy with him on the bench because he's more outside and he's younger. I think I feel a lot better with him on the bench. And Scott for the Dogs. With Crozier injured, it might open up a spot for Scott at halfback. So hopefully he plays, fingers crossed. I will have enough money to trade him to a 123k rookie if he doesn't get named, but fingers crossed. Mature age as well, which helps. So probably could play him on field over Gordon. Not sure. So yeah, I have to think about that one. So now the rucks, pretty obvious. So Gawn and Grundy, don't really need to speak much on this. With rookie rucks, so I'm actually going for Flynn. I think Flynn's, based on Phil Davis's comments where he basically said, Flynn is pretty much the guy. He's done a 5-year apprenticeship basically, so he will be the guy to start off with. Maybe Briggs threatens his spot, but for the time being, I think they'll play Flynn. But yeah, Gawn and Grundy. Gawn's going to be our perma captain for the first few weeks because he plays all non-first choice ruckman unless Darcy gets named round 1. And then Grundy, while expecting him to bounce back. So Gawn and Grundy, the two main captain options. There are less stoppages around the ground, but they can accumulate as well around the ground, take a few marks here and there. Maybe Gawn loses a few hit-outs to Luke Jackson. But it's just an absolute nightmare trying to trade in Max Gawn. I did it last year. It took me 4 trades. He was 700 and something, 750k nearly. And then he got injured, so it was a complete disaster last year. I'm not willing to put myself through that again. There is no way I would consider. I know we have a few rookie rucks, but their job security is all pretty average. Flynn's is probably the best, but even he, if he misses a game, then what do you do? Like, there's not a whole lot you can do. You just cop the donut. So yeah, maybe Marshall comes back. You have to force Marshall in, but then you don't even have a ruck forward on the bench. So it's a no-brainer to go for Gawn and Grundy for me. So they are in. So now the forward line. So this is where the shenanigans start. So our F1, I thought about Nick Hind, but he's a bit expensive, and I think he's more for AFL Fantasy. We're going to go with the Geelong's new halfback, Tom Atkins. So you might be thinking, oh, Jords, what are you doing? Why are you tanking like this? Well, maybe, but with Atkins, I saw him play. He was really good off halfback. The thing with Atkins is I did a bit more research into this, and this was news to me, but it's actually old news. So Matthew Scarlett picked Tom Atkins, and he said, I want that guy in the defence. If you don't know Matthew Scarlett, for the younger people, probably the best defender over the past 20 years. And I don't say that lightly. So he chose Tom Atkins to play defence. He's got all the minutes in the trial game, played really well, had a good preseason, got all the defence minutes in the Amy game, almost, if not best on ground. They have a few, it's like there's Colladagnes there, Buses there. I'm not exactly sure their setup, so I'm a little bit nervous on if he plays or not, but I find it hard to believe that he doesn't play. I haven't heard anything other than he will play, pretty much. So played really well there. We know how defenders are going. I'm willing to take this risk, and it's only 290k. Tom Atkins is in for me. I think he led the game for contested possessions as well, so I'm more than happy to pick Tom Atkins. So he's in. A little bit risky, but yeah, scored really well. And yeah, halfbacks are going berserk this year anyway. That's kind of the bet with the team. Like, you'll see this defense, this forward line. I have 5 defenders in this forward line, so the bet this year is that defenders are scoring more. If not, I think it's not going to be the worst thing in the world because they're still going to be capable scorers. But yeah, there's really good upside here. Next we have Jack Zeeble. So rebounded okay, took some kickouts, which was great, and it sounds like they're going to persist with him at least in the short term. So see how he goes. He was playing on Kaczynski on the weekend, so that's a mismatch, and Zeeble also didn't really know how to defend him. So how much do they put up with Zeeble not being able to defend? Hopefully he learns a little bit because he's pretty new to the role, but I'm not sure. But it sounds like they're going to persist with him in the short term. I feel like in match reviews he's captain, but I don't think you could ignore that sort of defending that he was doing. So offensively he can score points. That's all we kind of care about for Supercoach. But hopefully he maintains his spot there, and he has really high ownership, 37%. So kind of protected by that. Zeeble is in for now. Next we have Jarman Impey. Yeah, I was a little bit worried about his job security, but I've since heard better things about that from Hawthorn supporters. So he will play creative halfback. So again, with the creative halfback types, they're the players that they want to give the ball to. So for me, maybe gets a few handball receives, few free points there. So for me, he's in. And yeah, halfback flank, what more can you ask for? He averaged 77 or 78 2 years ago. It was down to 74 because he did his ACL. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm going to pick him and happy with him. Picking him over Joe because his role is a lot better. The next player we have is Braden Campbell. So put up really big numbers in the would have been the NEFL, I suppose, or the NAB League. I actually thought it was less than that, but I did found out a bit more about that. So happy to pick Braden Campbell, and yeah, he's been in the academy for nearly 8 years. I think they were saying on the cast that he's really close mates with Elliot Gordon, really prepared and really high pick. So takes kick-ins, has that halfback role. Yeah, we'll pick Braden Campbell. So very happy with that pick. Next we have Bergman. Now, I don't know if Bergman plays because I think Hartler is threatening his spot, but fingers crossed that he's played himself into the team. So a big fan of Miles Bergman, halfback, looks really good, big pre-season. Had 1 or 2 years in the system. I can't remember which one out of those two, but yeah, I'll happily pick Miles Bergman. If he doesn't play, we'll need to figure out something, trade him to another rookie. The next player we have, of course, is Jimmy Rowe. So Jimmy Rowe, I'm not sure I think he's an okay field option, but nonetheless, I kind of prefer him on the bench just because he's a small forward playing for the Crows. He averaged 90 something in the SNFL, led their goal kicking. He's a really good player. He's one of the Crows' better players, to be honest. So he will hold his job, no problems. And yeah, we'll keep him. Sometimes he'll be on field, sometimes he'll be on the bench for us. But yeah, I wouldn't feel too uncomfortable playing him on the field. And next we have Harry Jones. Now Harry Jones played really well. He's not going to score a lot. He's a second-year key forward, but I think they want to persist with him as he showed really good signs in the preseason. I think Matthew Lloyd was saying, you're going to see a lot of Harry Jones this year. So for that reason, he's a bit of a slow burn, but we'll keep him there. But yeah, pretty happy with that pick. And the final player I have, we have Warner. So he's actually on field. So we'll swap Warner for Rowe for now. So Chad Warner, huge numbers in juniors. I think it was like 150 something. So he can win the inside ball. I'm not sure how much mid-time he gets, but played really well on the weekend. So for me, he has to be in based on his scoring power. And I think he's in over Dylan Stevens. So job security. I thought Stevens was more outside though. So not exactly a like for like, but see how it goes. But I think if he plays round 1, he's shown scoring power. So I think we pick him. So that's the team. I hope you guys like it. If you don't, let me know. But yeah, really excited for this year. What am I worried about? No Lockie Neal, no Clayton Oliver. Slight concerns, but yeah, they're a lot of money and they have some minor doubts over them, but I think they'll be fine. So no Dangerfield. Dangerfield is a waste of time for me. I'm not picking a guy that's 31, that's off a 4-month groin injury. Not for me. And yeah, the other thing I'm worried about is the defenders. There might be other defenders who benefit more than others with the new rules, because they're getting the ball into the good ball users' hands in defence a whole lot. Something like a Dan Houston could be one of those guys who really jump up in scoring. There might be a few others, but something to keep an eye on. But yeah, I definitely want to leave an open slot for Whitfield, and maybe if defenders are going that well, Laird can end up in the midfield and we'll grab another defender. But we'll see how it goes. So thanks for watching. Yeah, really excited for this year, and a few more videos to come for this week, and then can't wait for the season to start. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.